check out our streaming schedule for this week. We've got tons of content in terms of the NFL and college football, as we're going live just about every single day this week. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment where we go live. And now, on with our feature presentation. There are some dumb decisions where I break down the background of the game and its importance and how the game was going and yada yada yada. You get the idea. But then, there are some decisions that are just so blatantly obvious that I genuinely don't even know if I need to do that. Sometimes, a dumb coach makes a dumb decision that falls into my lap from the sky, as though it were a gift sent from the heavens. And I think we've got one of those situations here with Dennis Allen during the Week 7 Thursday night battle between the Denver Broncos and the New Orleans Saints. If you didn't see this game, first off, I envy you because this game was awful. But secondly, what you're about to see is one of the most brain-dead and baffling things I've ever seen a coach do in my life. And one of the most pointless things I've ever seen. And if you know me, you know that I do not say that lightly. And before I get to whatever heck this decision was, if you want to see more of me losing my sanity, and you want to see me talk about the good, the bad, and in this case, the really ugly history of the NFL, then this is the place for you because we post a video every single day. We have a live stream every single day as well. This is the place on YouTube for the history of the NFL. So if you like that sort of stuff, then be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on the channel. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. Alright, here's the situation. It's 16-3 Broncos, and the Saints have the ball at the 31-yard line with 11 seconds left in the first half. The Saints, wanting to score before the half, try and see if they can get anything on Denver's defense. Alas, they cannot, as a pass goes for 4 yards, setting up 3rd and 5 with 4 seconds left, well out of field goal range, meaning that the Saints will go into the locker room down 16-3 and with
going to end in all likelihood, but they're going to take another timeout, I guess. All right.
Timeout.
For what practical purpose? You tell me.
Third and final of the half. Again,
I don't know.
Even you're stumped.
Yeah.
Wait, they call timeout? They call timeout? What do you mean they call timeout? Well, apparently, they want to try another play because I guess that makes sense. I guess Dennis Allen wants to see if he can get 65 yards in 4 seconds or get some sort of lucky break. Clearly, you call a timeout in that spot if you think you can score. You must have a pretty good reason for not wanting to just let the clock run out and go into the second half. So let's see what Dennis Allen has here. I'm kind of baffled by this entire decision, but maybe he'll prove me wrong. What play did you have drawn up that warranted not running out the clock?
Well, you take a timeout. It's the only timeout I've ever seen, and a kneel down follows.
And they'll get booed off the field.
Yeah, whatever.
You call the timeout to stop the clock from running so you could take a knee? You know what, screw it. Just welcome to dumb decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this could possibly work, and sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of New Orleans Saints head coach Dennis Allen. Another year with the Saints playing a Week 7 Thursday night football game against an AFC opponent. Another year with Dennis Allen royally screwing up. You can learn more about that end-of-game debacle against the Jacksonville Jaguars by clicking the card in the upper right corner. It's kind of amazing that Dennis Allen still has a job, honestly. He might not be by the time you're watching this video, but Allen is truly and utterly incompetent from an in-game management standpoint. Even last year, when the Saints were somehow winning games and nearly squeaked together a playoff appearance, it was in spite of Allen's in-game management, and definitely not because of it. I've done so many episodes of dumb decisions on Dennis Allen, including one that you can watch by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And there's a reason for it. The man has no idea what he's doing. There's a reason that he's 26-51 as a head coach and has lost 2 out of every 3 games. There's a reason he's never made the playoffs. There's a reason that he's one of the worst head coaches in NFL history from a winning percentage standpoint amongst guys to somehow get 6 seasons in charge of an operation. The only question is why he's still allowed to be in charge. And after 5 straight losses now, you have to figure his days are numbered, especially after whatever the heck this decision was. So with that being said, let's take a look at why taking a timeout to then take a knee is a really bad idea. And I mean, some things are so obvious that they just speak for themselves. Think about what I just said. Take a timeout to then take a knee. I mean, how stupid can you get? I've watched a lot of football in my life. I've seen a lot of crazy things. And I've seen coaches do a lot of stupid things. And I can honestly say that never, not once in my life, have I ever seen a team take a timeout to then knee the ball and go into the half. Call timeout, call a play, and then wave the white flag and take a knee? Sure, but to call timeout to immediately take the knee? Never. And I want to make something extremely clear before going any further. Running the clock out to go into the half was not the wrong move. I had no problem whatsoever with what Dennis Allen decided to do and his strategy toward the end of the first half. It made complete sense. We're going to get the ball back at the 30-yard line after the touchback. We'll have time to try some plays and get to the 45-yard line to make it about a 62-yard field goal and make it possible for Blake Rupe to get some points on the board. We'll have time to use the middle of the field and go 25 yards. However, if we can't do that, we're not going to be stupid and risk something like a block punt or a strip sack or a fumble or anything along those lines. If we can't do that, we get the ball to start the second half. So let's just go into the locker room with the score the way it is and regroup. Teams do things like this all the time, even when they're losing. So if that was what happened here, and after the second down play went nowhere, the Saints just went into the locker room, then fine. No issue there. This is a complete nothing burger. Because let's be honest, you could call a play with 4 seconds left. Theoretically, you could call a play and get a 65-yard touchdown. Are the odds of getting it good? Of course not. Which is why I wouldn't have done it and would have been fine just letting it run into the half. You're not getting a Hail Mary here, and if you try it, you risk a strip sack, seeing as Spencer Rattler has the pocket presence of a blind man, and the offensive line is crap, and you got strip sacked before earlier in the game before it got called back due to offside. You've got a ton of injuries thus far on the season, and it might not be worth it to risk it on a meaningless low probability play. You could try a run, I suppose, and maybe that gets something, seeing as the Broncos have no one in the front seven, and maybe you can draw a face mask penalty and set up a field goal on an untimed down. I suppose that is technically possible. At the very least, it's more possible than Dennis Allen thinking that with his team down by 23 points and 80 seconds left in the game, he could recover an onside kick, score a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion, recover a second onside kick, score a touchdown, get a 2-point conversion, recover a third onside kick, and score a touchdown. Because that logic is super consistent. Dennis Allen really made sense this entire game with that kind of logic. But like I said, the decision to let the clock run out, no problem. However, let's weigh the pros and cons of taking a knee versus letting the clock run out. If you let the clock run out, the pro is that you go into the half with a score 16-3, while the con is that you go into the half with a score 16-3. If you call timeout to waste a minute, and then you take the knee, the pro is that you go into the half with a score 16-3, while the con is that you go into the half with a score 16-3. Which raises the obvious question, why the heck would you take a knee instead of just letting the clock run out? You call timeout to let the clock run out? That's letting the clock run out with extra steps. Did you not know what you were going to tell your team in the locker room? So you wanted to buy some time, and you call timeout to do that? Did one of your players tell you, Coach, I really want to listen to your halftime talk, but I've got to go to the bathroom. So can you delay the start of halftime for me? There genuinely was no purpose. Honest to God, there was no purpose. It's like if a sportsbook asks you who will win this game. If you bet $100 on Team A and they win, you win $100. And if you bet $100 on Team B and they win, you win $100. So you decide to place $100 down on Team A and $100 down on Team B. That way, you put $200 down. And while you'll get $100 in profit from one book, you'll lose $100 from the other. You know what that gives you? A net of 0. It's the exact same thing as calling a timeout to take the knee. It's the exact same thing as refusing to let the clock run out, only to then let the clock run out. At least if they tried something, as stupid as it would be, and as idiotic as it would be, there would be a purpose. But this might be the first play in the history of the NFL where there was no purpose. Dennis Allen is a coach without a purpose. Think of all the dumb decisions that I've covered on this channel where a coach makes the conscious choice to do something. Nick Sirianni throwing the ball at the end of the game against the Atlanta Falcons earlier this season. Stupid? Yes. But there was a purpose. If you get the first down, the game is over. Sam Weish calling a running play with 6 seconds left against the San Francisco 49ers. Stupid? Yes, but there was a purpose. If you can run 6 seconds off the clock, the game is over. Heck, even Joe Judge calling a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 9. Stupid? Yes, but there was a purpose. If you can get breathing room and somehow get 9 yards on a sneak, you keep the drive alive. Or you're not losing yards, so you have more breathing room out of your own end zone. This timeout by the man you've been watching this whole time served no purpose. The outcome would have been exactly the same with or without the timeout. You cannot score on a kneel down. You cannot get yards on a kneel down. You cannot move into field goal range on a kneel down. You just delay the inevitable for some reason, and for reasons unbeknownst to man. Dennis Allen can't even so much as think as one play ahead. He truly is a genius. One of the 32 brightest minds in football, people. It's like that meme featuring Gru. Call a play over the middle of the field to try and get closer. Call a timeout to stop the clock. Take a knee afterwards to let the clock run down and do what it was supposed to do already. Take a knee afterwards to let the clock run down and do what it was supposed to do already. And naturally, because this sequence was absolutely bizarre and made no sense whatsoever, after the game, the reporters asked Dennis Allen about what the heck was going on and what the purpose of that sequence was. And to say that Allen's answer was bizarre would be putting it extremely lightly. Take a listen, because the end of this statement is going to blow your ever-loving mind.
Then, can you explain the sequence right before half, like just taking time out?
Well, look, we shouldn't have taken the time out, is what we shouldn't have done. But we had 2 plays to try to see if we couldn't create something, and then, after having a couple of check downs and some pressure on the quarterback, it was like, let's take a knee, let's get out of the half, let's regroup and come back out. We get the ball to start the second half. So I think initially the thought was, can we get a chunk play and maybe have an opportunity to create something? But if not, then let's get out of the half.
Did you call the timeout or did the player?
I'm not sure exactly who called the timeout, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if it was called on the field or not.
That's right. Dennis Allen had no idea who took the timeout. Despite the fact that the play happened just over 90 minutes ago, and despite the fact that it was the most pointless timeout ever, Dennis Allen doesn't know whether or not he took a timeout. He explains the logic behind the decision to take a timeout and what was going through his head, and then says that he doesn't even remember if he took the timeout. Well, I can tell you this much. It definitely wasn't a player. It definitely wasn't Spencer Rattler, seeing as his reaction said it all. It wasn't one of your assistant coaches, seeing as only the head coach is allowed to call a timeout on the sideline. It was you. It was 100% you. If you can't remember who took the timeout, even though you took the timeout, then that says a ton about you as a head coach. Calling the timeout in this spot, as dumb and as idiotic as it was, is one thing. Saying that you don't know who took the timeout when I'm 100% confident it was you, since it could only be you or Rattler, and it sure as heck wasn't Rattler? That's insane. Absolutely insane. And I really don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the game between these 2 teams behind me right here was one of the most embarrassing losses in the history of the New Orleans Saints franchise. Think about it. You were playing on primetime TV against the Denver Broncos, led by your former head coach, and you were honoring Drew Brees in this moment, the greatest player in franchise history. And you proceed to do this? You proceed to lay an egg like this and lose your 5th straight game, all while doing whatever the heck that was at the end of the first half? The Saints are a team in serious trouble right now. There is not a light at the end of the tunnel. The team has lost 5 straight games, and Dennis Allen's seat should be pretty hot right about now. The Saints are not going in the right direction, I can tell you that much. And the end of the first half pretty much sums up how New Orleans' season has gone since that 2-0 start of theirs. So what do we learn from all of this? I mean, I never thought I'd have to make a video like this because this just seemed like common sense. But I guess in 2024, Common sense ain't so common anymore. If the clock is running and you want to go into the half and not do anything else, then don't stop the clock and call another play. If the clock is running and you are thinking about calling a timeout to call another play that cannot get any more yardage and would accomplish the same thing as not calling a play in that spot would, then maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you shouldn't tick off your players who just want to go into the locker room, and maybe you shouldn't waste everyone's time. If your logic is inconsistent, then maybe it's time to rethink your logic. And if you refuse to take accountability for something that you did, almost like the Tim Robinson sketch where Dennis Allen is the guy in the hot dog suit trying to find the guy who did this, then maybe you have no business being a head coach. Especially if this is your 6th season in the league, and you're no better off than you were in year 1. And that's saying something. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.